Hey, horror fans. Once again, it is me, the Horror Mastermind GS. I'm welcoming you to my first episode of a new series I'm doing here on the channel. It is called Horror Movies from the 70s, and the first one will be the 1971 horror thriller film, Willard. Now, I'm pretty sure you've heard this before. I am a child of the 70s. I grew up during the 70s. Been living all my life here in Philadelphia since 1970. So I grew up during the 70s and I saw a lot of horror movies throughout the 70s as well. And I'm not talking about just the popular horror movies that came out in the 70s, such as The Exorcist, Jaws, The Omen, Star Wars, and anything else movies coming in the 70s. No, what I'm going to be doing is focusing on some very unknown, some popular horror movies that came out during the 70s, but not as popular as those. And the first one I'm tackling is a 1971 horror film, Willard. Now, Willard is a 1971 American horror film and it was directed by Daniel Mann, written by Gilbert Ralston, based on Stephen Gilbert's novel, Ratman's Notebooks. Now, the film stars Bruce Davidson, Sandra Locke, Elsa Lanchester, and Ernest Borgnine. Now, in the film, a social misfit uses his only friends, his pet rats, to extract revenge on his tormentors. Oh no, rats! No! I don't remember how old I was when I eventually saw Willard. My mother took me and my brother to see Willard when it came out in theaters in 1971. And it wasn't really a scary movie, to be honest. Yeah, but seeing all those rats, it might make people nervous, especially have a fear of pests or rodents right there. But it was a somewhat decent, somewhat little scary horror film where we see Willard, who is a social misfit. He doesn't stick up for himself. He supposedly should have inherited his father's company, but his father's partner, played by Ernest Borgnine, took the company from him, and he just berates Willard like he doesn't even give Willard the respect at all. Another problem that Willard has is that he has a dominating mother, and she just dominates him. Poor Willard doesn't seem to have any galls to stick up for himself again. He's just meek, introverted, doesn't do anything. The only friends that he has is the rats that he finds are in the house, and he decides to keep them as pets. He trains them. He does all types of things with them. He has his nice special white rat he calls Socrates and another big rat he calls Ben. We'll talk about Ben in the number right there. And, he actually enjoys these rats. He actually decides to take one of the rats to work. Unfortunately, they get out. And unfortunately, they kill one of them. They kill Socrates. Oh, poor Socrates. That pisses off Willard, and Willard decides to strike back against him and everyone who's tormented him. Now, obviously, he's being bullied, and I guess this is one of the things you should be is not be bullied, and that's one of the aspects of the film that we see in Willard, that he's being bullied by his boss, Al Martin, played by Ernest Borgnine. One of the fascinating things I learned, if I'm not mistaken, what they do is one of the things that they get the rats to do is when Willard decides to attack this couple that are threatening to his mother's house, and he gets the rats to chew on the wood. And I remember correctly, they decided to smear the wood with peanut butter. So eventually the rats would eat the peanut butter, but it looked like they were eating the wood. That was one of the things I believe that happened when filming the film, because they did use live rats. Now, obviously, he attacks he uses the rats to attack other people. And again, I think Bruce Davidson did a good job acting wise. He plays Willard as his meek, introverted person. He doesn't stick up for himself, but he feels more comfortable with the rats. And now with the rats by his side, he feels more confident and more stronger, especially after when they kill Socrates and he goes after his boss. Now, this is the typical film that came out during the 70s, very grainy, very grindhouse feel. If you've never seen some of the films that came out in the 70s, Willard is a prime example of that type of film styling. Like, if you went to a drive-in theater to see this film, or if you went to a movie theaters then back in the 70s, they have that grainy, grindhouse look like any other films, whether it was Last House on the Left, The Hills Have Eyes, even all those films that came out during the 70s have this grainy grindhouse look, and Willard is one of those films. So we eventually, Willard does his thing, and like I said, there's really nothing really scary about this film at all. I mean, he has great acting. Obviously, the rats do what they're supposed to do. We get to see Ben. He's a huge, big black rat. And obviously, because of the success of Willard, we get a sequel called Ben. I might decide to talk about Ben in that particular moment right there. I actually did like how that movie was incorporated with Ben and the kid that he becomes friends with. It's even better than the relationship he has with Willard in this film. And overall, it's a decent, nice horror film. If you haven't seen it, I recommend you go see it. I believe it's playing on. Give me a second here. Yes, actually streaming on Peacock. So if you ever want to see the 1971 version of Willard, check it out. It's actually streaming on Peacock. I know that there was I think it's a 2003 remake with Kristen Glover. He plays Willard. I'm not really particularly fond of that particular film. Kristen Glover does well as Willard. I really didn't like the film a lot. They use a lot of CGI rats. There are some different rats that they have. There are some live rats that they use. I know they use some type of a Portuguese rat to play Ben and Socrates. I believe that's what they did right there. I know. I guess because to me, I'm more into the old fashioned version, the old school version. Well, not saying that the new version is good, but I just didn't like it. Not to me, I just prefer this Willard, not the Willard that came out in 2003. But if you want to see that one, you can watch that one as well. But like I said before, you want to check out Willard. It is airing on Peacock right now. Now, as far as these movies are concerned, I'm not going to give out any gold coins because it's more me discussing some of the movies I saw during the 70s. And like I said, I really did love this film. I thought it was a fan. For me, as a child watching a film like this, you would think it would have scared the shit out of me, but it really didn't. Jaws is a different thing, but no, Willard, no, not really. But if I were to give this any type of ranking, I give it three out of my five bloody gold coins. Yeah, so there you have it. That is the first episode of Horror Movies in the 70s, Willard. I'll be talking about other horror movies I've seen throughout the 70s. Some have aired on TV, some have not. So I could be going from anywhere from Trilogy of Terror, Let's Scare Jessica to Death, Don't Be Afraid of the Dark. Trust me, there are plenty of horror movies that came out during the 70s. So we will continue on to see where I go to next. So that's my video for today, guys. So if you did enjoy, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up, like, and share because it does help out with the YouTube algorithm. Also, if you're new here, please hit that subscriber button and ring that notification bell. That way you'll be notified anytime when I put new videos such as this one. Once again, my name is Lamont Smith, better known as the Horror Miser Money G, and always remember that horror rules. And I see you in my next video. I'm out.